Looking for a fun way to win up to 25 times your money this basketball season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projection for a wide variety of stats, and place your entry. It's as easy as that. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. Easy gameplay, quick withdrawals, and injury insurance on your picks are what make Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Ready to test your skills? Join the Prize Picks community of more than 7 million players who have already signed up. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/get100 and use code GET100. That's code GET100 at prizepicks.com/get100 for a first deposit matchup to $100. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy.
Welcome to the 10th episode of the Meet the Mancunian podcast. Every week, I aim to introduce you to an interesting Mancunian from this culturally diverse city, Manchester. We will hear from ordinary people making an extraordinary impact. Presented by Deepa Thomas Sutcliffe, newbie Mancunian. Tune in every week for a new episode. Worried about putting your brand out there? We hear from Sarah Steinhoefel, founder of the Hive Mind company, in this episode. I'm delighted to introduce my guest, Sarah Steinhoefel, founder of the Hive Mind company. Thank you, Sarah, for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Lovely. So tell us about how you found your passion for coaching.
So it's something that's been around for a long time. So in my previous career, I was a tech analyst for a big multinational software company, and I was a trainer and a mentor. And coaching kind of felt like it was going to fit into that really, really well. So I started investigating becoming a coach probably about, it must have been about 8 years ago. And I kind of put it to one side, I shelved it and sort of forgot about it, and then kind of came back to it, primarily through just working with the people that I was working with when I was looking at their marketing. So a lot of people came to me who wanted to know about how to use Facebook, but actually it wasn't really that at all. It was how they felt about it. So this whole coaching thing just came back into my mind again, and there I am, and now I'm doing it. So yeah.
Amazing. So can you tell listeners about how you started working with female business owners particularly?
That again, I don't think it was actually an active choice per se. So I'd worked very much in a male-dominated environment, being a tech analyst, and it wasn't that I was actively trying to move away from working with men at all. But I just think that I found that a lot of women business owners were coming to me because I've got tech knowledge, I've got marketing knowledge, and I think they felt more comfortable coming to a woman sometimes. So then that was kind of, I sort of hit on that idea that actually maybe there was a place for me to work with female business owners who needed that little bit more sort of a tech biased support, I suppose, in some cases as well. So like I say, it wasn't an absolute choice to work with women. It just kind of naturally happened, and I actually really enjoy it. So yeah, it's kind of morphed into that, for want of a better thing.
What inspired you to get involved?
Do you know, just seeing a lot of women struggling. So the women that I tend to work with are women that they know how to use technology. That's the big thing. So they don't necessarily need, advice how to use Facebook or things like that. But what they lack is sort of like the confidence in being visible. So that was quite inspiring because I'm quite extroverted. I love talking to people. I love meeting people, but I have issues around being visible because of, things that have happened in my past, things that people have said to me. Working for a big corporate company, you don't have to be visible. So it's quite a big switch in mindset from from being this person who work comes to them naturally and you don't have to do anything, to basically having your own voice and having to say stuff. So it was quite inspiring to sort of work with those kind of women and see the change that happened.
Lovely. So, who is it that you specifically help and support? I know you talked about female business owners, but can you tell us a little bit more about what they might be focused on and your area of work within that.
Yeah, so most of the time it's probably women around the same sort of age as me. So dare I say the words middle-aged women. So women who are probably late 30s onwards. A lot of them are very similar to me. So they've come from a corporate type background, or maybe they have come from a background where they've not had to be visible. It does, when I say corporate and people think, these big, massive multinational companies, but anywhere where you're a larger business where perhaps they had a marketing department or something. But then I also tend to work with women who identify with symptoms of maybe mental health conditions such as depression and anxiety, and stress, because that also adds to this feeling of not wanting to be visible. So it sounds like it's quite a niche, but actually there's quite a lot of us. There's a lot of female entrepreneurs out there. There are a lot of women now coming to business I want to say later life, but it sounds terrible, doesn't it? I'm 40. I don't think I'm that old, but not young ones. We're not talking sort of like millennials or anything. Women who are maybe past 30. There's a lot of us who are really passionate about what we do and are brilliant business people, but they kind of have that little bit of confidence missing, particularly around, like I say, the visibility and stuff. So that is kind of where I sit, but it's quite a broad market actually, because there's a lot of us.
That's great to know. So what impact would you say you've made so far?
It's a difficult one to measure sometimes, because I think coaching particularly stuff around marketing takes a long time to build. So a lot of it isn't sort of like instant gratification. I don't see somebody flying straight away. But I've worked with quite a few local business women who are flying actually with their social media and being present and being visible in the world. There is a lady locally who I work with who came to me for a power hour, and her big sort of concern was that she was an accountant and she didn't have anything new to say, because there are lots of accountants, and it's like, yes, there are, but they're not you. And you've got your own story to tell. You've got your unique sort of slant on your business. And she's absolutely flying. So it's things like that, where it's not necessarily always measurable per se. It's not like fixing something, but you see this change in people. And I think that gives me the warm, fuzzy feeling that I love about coaching, is that you can see progress and change.
That's amazing.
Yeah. It's not always quick, but you do see it. And it's really nice and satisfying.
Lovely. So how can interested people reach out and learn more?
I have a website, so thehivemindcompany.co.uk. I am on LinkedIn. I am on all social media platforms pretty much. So if anybody wants to find me on LinkedIn or come and say hello, just look for Sarah Steinhoefel. That's me, and you'll find me, hopefully.
Lovely. What advice would you have for people looking to start something similar in their own community, maybe in another part of the world?
Just do it is the biggest thing. So there are so many of us, and myself included, that really hold ourselves back because, and particularly women, because of the stories that we're told, sort of like, it's not a woman's job to do this, or it's not a woman's place to do this. And I just say, if you're passionate about it, if you really want to do it, try it, because you never know what's going to happen. You really don't know what's going to happen. So a good example, I guess, recently for me is that I've just started an initiative over on Twitter with a couple of football fans. So it's me, a guy in Germany and a guy in America. And we had this crazy idea a couple of weeks ago, literally at the end of November, about supporting football fans who supported the club that we support, who've got mental health issues, because mental health is a big topic for me. And we just said, yeah, let's do it. And we didn't really think about it. We didn't sort of sit there and check ourselves, and we just went and did it. The club that we follow are now supporting us, and they want us to work with them. And this whole thing has just come from being brave. And I guess that's the thing that holds a lot of us back. So just be brave, just do the thing that you dream of doing and see how it goes. Because if it doesn't work, you can always change it slightly. And a lot of businesses don't work straight away. You have to tweak things, you have to change things. So, I never see any of this as failure. It's just another way of learning something. So yeah, just go for it is my advice.
Love that. Thank you. I'm going to switch gears now and ask you my signature questions, which I'm asking all my guests. So first question to you is, why do you love Manchester?
Oh, I didn't love Manchester for quite a long time. I hate to admit I didn't. So I'm originally from the other side of the Pennines, so I'm from Yorkshire, and there's this whole Yorkshire-Lancashire thing and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And for years, I didn't feel settled in Greater Manchester. So I used to live in Salford, didn't feel settled at all. But over the last 10 years, I've moved to Trafford. So I now live in Urmston in Trafford. Urmston feels very much like where I was brought up in Sheffield. So it's got a very similar sort of layout. There's lots of trees and, you know, big wide streets and stuff. And I think that is what I love. I love where I live now. But Manchester's also really, the people are really, really friendly. You know, you make so many friends and so many business friends. And yeah, I just love the whole thing of it now. I can't really single out one thing.
Amazing. Where's your favorite place in Manchester?
I've been thinking about this one quite a bit, and it's quite tough to pick out. So I am quite a fan of art and culture and stuff like that. So I absolutely love the John Rylands Library. I haven't been there for a long time. I love that. I love the Central Library. I love the Manchester Art Gallery. So anything like that, I think any sort of museums or art galleries are top on my list of favourite places. It's really hard to pick just one.
I'm going to put them all on my list.
Yeah.
What's the most important life lesson that you've learned?
Oh, gosh. I think it's similar to the advice of what would you do? You know, what advice would I give for people starting out business? And I think it is just do it and learn to trust yourself. I think, I'm sure it's not just me. I'm sure a lot of women are the same. You have like a gut feeling about something and then you talk yourself out of it. And 99 times out of 100, if I go with my gut feeling, it's usually okay. You know, sometimes it needs a bit of tweaking. Sometimes maybe it's not 100% right. But I would say most of the time, my gut reaction is right. So I would say learn to trust yourself. Definitely.
Like that. If someone wrote a book on your life, what would they call it?
Do you know, this is a really tough one to answer. It depends what day you catch me on. So some days it might be the good, the bad and the ugly, which is, you know, which is most people's lives, I think. I really don't know. I think probably she got there in the end. I think it's taken me a long time. So, you know, nearly to 50 to accept who I am, what I'm good at and where I want to be in my life. So I think, yeah, she got there in the end is probably the best one.
Sarah, thank you for talking to me and my listeners. Thank you all for listening. I hope you enjoyed the 10th episode of the Meet the Mancunian podcast. Tune in every week for a new episode.
Thank you very much for listening and thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.